me today. I am going to make a spring-inspired little cloche. I love the bunny by the Decoupage Queen. So there's two coordinating papers that I'm going to use here. Even though this project is very small and the papers are very big, I'm just going to take a portion of it and then save the paper for another project. So what I like to do is I like to put my small MDF or whatever I'm painting that's really small, I put it on the tape just because I'm a craft mess. So I'm trying to keep my fingers minimally dirty. So I put it on this tape and it keeps my little MDF or whatever I'm working on in a safe area where it's not all over my fingers. Sometimes I'll put on gloves, but the tape works just as well. And another thing that I like to do is I like to use the wax paper. It's inexpensive. I can use it over and over again. And that way it keeps my brown paper clean. So it looks nice when I'm presenting videos like this. And the wax paper is a lot cheaper than the brown craft paper. All right, so I'm going to put on 2 coats. This is the acrylic primer by Pentart. There are several different primers with Pentart. I do have a Pentart playbook that I've just started in January. And for January, I've already covered the 3 different primers that Pentart has. It has the bonding primer, it has the acrylic primer, and it has a primer paste by Gesso. So if you're interested in what these products do, you can head over to my Facebook Makers and Creators group. I'll link it below. And you can go in there, join it, and then you can be notified when I post the new videos on the Pentart products. There are so many different Pentart products it's going to take me all year to get through them. And of course, I'm starting with the basics, the borings, but I learned something totally new with the primer paste gesso. I'm super excited about that. So check it out. Now, also with that, there are downloads. So there's a file for each of the different videos I'm creating. So you can create your own Pentart playbook. Just print it off and stick it in a folder. All right, now look how cute this bunny is. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting the clear cloche over to kind of see what part I'm going to capture. I love the stripes from the coordinating paper, so I'm thinking I'm going to put it on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut Mr. Cottontail out, and then the matching paper, I'm going to cut that out too. So I'm going to just kind of score the edges. I'm going to rub this paper around the bottom of the cloche backing so I can cut it out. I wish I had those spring-loaded scissors handy, but I'll just have to use my normal scissors for this part. Now this cut won't be perfect, but I can go back in with my sander and get the little parts off. It's gonna be a lot easier to take the little parts off than to try to get all that paper off. So I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this out. Then I'm going to decoupage it onto my backing. Now just for information, these are made by Handcrafted Holiday Traditions. They cut out all kinds of MDF stuff, and they came up with these backings for the Cloche Mould by IOD. And they're just a backing, so it makes it a little bit easier if you want to decoupage or you just want to have a different layer of element on it. So anyway, I'm going to try them out. This is my first time using them. I'm super excited to see how it's going to turn out. All right, so now I need to decide what part of the Mr. Cottontail I want to put in the cloche because it's going to show through. So I'm just going to lay my cloche over him. And I'm going to kind of pick what area I think would look best. I probably, in hindsight, should have off-centered it just a little bit so it wasn't behind the center line of the cloche, but too late because I'm already done. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the clear cloche over it, and then I'm just going to go ahead and trace the area that I want to keep, and then I'm going to cut it out. I absolutely love this paper. It is so beautiful with the gold frame and the roses in the background. I just love it. So I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to use my Silky Shine decoupage varnish and glue, and I'm going to stick the bunny on the background, and then we're going to decide what we're going to do to make that bunny pop, because I really want this bunny to pop through the cloche mold. Sometimes if you leave it muted, you can't really see the design. So I'm going to do a few things to make the Mr. Bunny pop. Before I decorate Mr. Bunny, I need to just go ahead and give it a light sanding, get off the extra paper. There's not a lot because we did basically trace it. But I want to just get the edges off just to make it a clean look. All right, now that that's finished, we are going to have some fun. Look how cute he looks. I have this little tray here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my pigment fix and then just various mica powders and my metal pigments, because I'm going to use these to make the design pop. I'm also going to be using a little bit of the sparkling gel. This just adds just a little bit of shimmer, because when it's in the background, I want to give it just the extra oomph to make it stick through the cloche. I don't know how much of the bottom I'm going to cover up on the outside of the cloche, but just in case, I want to make sure something shows through. Look at that shimmer. I absolutely love it. I am a shimmer fool. I love to shimmer, shimmer, shimmer. Not glitter, shimmer. I love it. Anyway, so look how beautiful this is looking so far. But now we need to decorate Mr. Bunny, Mr. Cottontail, and the flower, just so it pops through the cloche. So this is where I'm going to grab the pigment fix and the different mica colors. One thing you're going to notice is my pigment fix is a little tinted. I accidentally stuck my paintbrush in my pigment fix, and it left a little bit of brown residue, so you can see it's tinted brown. But you know what? Ultimately, it doesn't matter, because once I stick the mica powder in, it changes it anyway. So instead of throwing out my whole brand new bottle of pigment fix, I'm just going to deal with it. Okay, so I'm using a little bit of this pink color, and I'm just going to mix it up, because what I want to do is I want to use this on the bottom stripes, because I want to make it pop. So once I give this a good mix, I'm going to go ahead and paint some of those stripes. You'll notice that what it's doing is it's deepening the pink color just a little bit, but it's also adding that extra layer of shimmer. And it goes well with the sparkling gel that is next. I would have used sparkling gel in here, but I didn't have a pink one, so I just made it with the mica powder. Super easy to do. Just take a look at what it has done to the decoupage paper. Look at that. Just slight shimmer, nothing over the top. It's just the way the light catches it. It just turns it, it just makes it beautiful. Next, I'm going to mix up a little bit of the brown. I'm going to use this to highlight the darker part on Mr. Cottontail. I'm not going to color over the whole bunny, because that would ruin the look of this beautiful little Mr. Cottontail. I'm just going to use it to highlight special areas on the bunny. I'm going to go ahead and mix up my off-white too, so I'm ready, because if you notice on the bunny, look at his nose, part of his ear, part of his chest, there's that little creamy whitish color too, so I want to make sure I highlight that too. I don't want just the brown to stick out. This is what I love to do. I love to take the micas, the sparkling gels, the delicate or the glamour paints, and just highlight the different areas on the papers or whatever I'm working on. Sometimes it turns out beautiful, and sometimes I've really messed things up. So each time I do it, I learn, but I always try to stay with the color. So I only try to hit like the deeper colors, the darker colors. I try to color match as much as possible. Sometimes I'll stray a little bit if I want to highlight part of the bunny. Like I'm going to do his left side. I'm going to give it a little line so you can actually see his outline. And I like to feather. I like to do it lighter, darker, but I like to just have fun and experiment. Every time I do this, it turns out different, and I learn something from it. Whatever you do, don't be scared to do it, because you can always put another color on top. I really like how the white helps make Mr. Cottontail pop. It's just very little. It's way worth it to get yourself a very, very fine, thin paintbrush for this. Trust me, I've learned the hard way. I used a brush that I shouldn't have been using. It was too fat, and I was not happy with my results. So definitely, if you're going to do something like this, get yourself a very fine brush. Okay, so I figured I could maybe do some of the lighter parts of him. So I mixed the brown and the cream, and it came out gray. So I was not happy with that. So I didn't use it. I just skipped that part. For this next part, I'm going to be using a lot of different color wax pastes. First, I'm going to go in with the magenta. I really like the wax paste because they add a different element of shine. Like the mica and the sparkling gel give like a really shimmer with a little bit of glitter, a hint of glitter in there. These are just more shimmer. And I'm simply taking the magenta and I'm just using a fine brush, and I'm only putting it on heavily where the darker areas are. I'm gonna go back in and lightly brush the lighter areas just to give it, I wanna keep the colors true to the way the paper was designed. If I put too much on, I'll lose the depth and picture of the flower. But look at that. You can just see a little bit of the shimmer between the bunny and the flower. So as I'm looking at it, I noticed that you can't really see his right ear definition very well. So I'm going back in with just a very, very fine little teeny line of the brown mica just to highlight his ear a little bit more so it doesn't get lost behind the cloche. Now I'm going to grab my rose gold wax paste and I'm just going to lightly, do the same thing I've been doing with the rest of this paper. I'm just highlighting the darker areas and then I'll go back very lightly on the lighter areas, but I don't want to lose the depth of these pictures. I'm just trying to highlight so they pop a little bit more through the cloche. Now, if you're liking these videos, please take a second and hit the subscribe button. Also, if you don't mind and you like this video, click like, maybe even leave a comment. This does help me grow as a DIY creator. All right, so look at that. See that shimmer? It just adds just a little bit. And it's only when the way the light catches it. So I really, really like this. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab my green and I'm going to do the same thing to the stem on the flower. All right, so here is the final look. Just enough just to make Mr. Cottontail pop and the base pop. Hopefully it'll do what I'm intending it to do. After this dries, I'm going to put 2 coats of the pouring glaze on top just for an extra shimmer. I don't know if it'll be affected through the cloche. We're gonna see. Everything, I always just try to see what if. Will this work? Why not? Okay, while this is drying, I'm going to use the same pouring glaze on the outside of the cloche. What this is going to do is it's going to take away that film or the cloudiness of my resin, and it's going to make it where it's more see-through. Now, this resin is not the top resin I generally use for cloches, but when I was doing this, I was testing different resins, and this I already had made up, so instead of pouring a whole new one, I just use this one. But if you want a crystal clear one, I recommend the Pentart clear glass resin. It is a little bit more on the expensive side, but I guarantee you it is well worth it because it does look like glass. It's clear. Anyway, let's go ahead, let this dry, and then I'm going to glue it on, and we're going to see how Mr. Cottontail pops through the cloche. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to use some metal pigment and gold, mix it with my pigment fix, and I'm going to lightly brush it on my cloche. I'm trying to just hit the highlights. I could have used wax paste, but I really like the way this turns out. It's just so beautiful, this gold. I'm going light at first, so you can still kind of see the stripes background, but I decided that I'm going to add a little bit darker. But before I do that, I'm going to cover the entire part of the cloche that I think just needs the light. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and make certain parts darker. For the parts of the cloche that are going to be over the bunny, I'm just putting it on very light. I don't want to have complete coverage because I still want Mr. Cottontail to shine through as much as possible, but I still need the definition of the cloche. After going back and making parts of the cloche darker, I really like it because it does make that stripe pop behind it. Didn't really need to see it through the bottom, but look, you can still see Mr. Cottontail because I didn't go too heavy on the top of the cloche because I did want Mr. Cottontail to show through. Look at how cute, but you know what? He's kind of boring, so let's add something fun. I have this small bottle brush tree. I'm going to remove the base, and I'm going to quickly just put on some watered down orange paint. Make sure it gets in the bristles. Then I'm going to hot glue some of this green, like plasticky stem, and I'm going to make a little carrot, and then I'm going to hot glue it right on the left side of the cloche because I just think it needs something. And then I'm going to take this, I got this vine at the craft store. It kind of looks like just leaves. I'm going to wrap that around the top. And then I found this ribbon. I absolutely love the ribbon. I love the frayed edges. I'm going to take the light pink and I'm going to tie it around just to give it that chef's kiss, the final touch. And voila, my Mr. Cottontail La Cloche Easter decoration, home decor, whatever you want to call it, is complete. I hope you liked this video. Please, if you don't mind, I would love for you to give it a thumbs up if you liked it, or leave me a comment.